They told Gen Z that life would be easier, more technology, more freedom, more choices. But no one told them that having everything could make you feel empty. This is the first generation that feels tired before life even starts. Not tired of work, not tired of effort, but tired in the mind. Scrolling for hours, laughing at jokes you don't really feel, watching lives you're supposed to want. And yet, when the phone goes dark, so does the motivation. They call it brain rot, not because Gen Z is stupid, but because the brain was never designed to digest endless information without meaning. Your attention is being eaten, piece by piece. Every swipe gives a hit of dopamine. Every hit feels good, until nothing does. And suddenly, rest feels uncomfortable, silence feels loud, and effort feels impossible. So the question isn't, why is Gen Z lazy? The real question is, how do you build a future when your mind is constantly distracted from the present? Previous generations were broken by war, by hunger, by survival. Gen Z is being broken by excess. Too many options, too many voices, too many comparisons. But here's the part no one talks about. If your mind feels overwhelmed, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're still human in a system designed to drain you. And that means you can learn to take control back. But taking control back doesn't start with motivation. Motivation is fragile. It comes and goes. One bad night and it disappears. Control starts with awareness. Because the moment you understand what is happening to your mind, you stop blaming yourself for reacting to it. Your brain is not failing. It's adapting. Adapting to notifications, to algorithms, to a world that never stops asking for your attention. And attention is energy. What you give attention to is what grows. That's why discipline feels impossible now. Not because you lack willpower, but because your willpower is being spent before the day even begins. You wake up already overstimulated, already behind, already comparing. So when life asks you to focus, to build, to commit, your mind says, I'm tired. And it makes sense. Here's the truth no one says clearly. Gen Z doesn't suffer because life is too hard. Gen Z suffers because life feels too shallow. Everything is optimized for speed, for clicks, for reaction. Nothing is built for depth. And the human mind needs depth the way lungs need air. Without it, you can breathe, but you'll never feel alive. That's why productivity hacks don't work. That's why just be disciplined fails. That's why motivation videos feel good for exactly 5 minutes. They treat the symptom, not the cause. The cause is this. You are constantly consuming other people's meaning instead of building your own. Other people's success, other people's bodies, other people's lives. And slowly, your own life starts to feel like a side quest. So let's reframe the problem. The enemy isn't technology. The enemy isn't social media. The enemy isn't Gen Z. The enemy is unconscious consumption, living on autopilot, scrolling without intention, absorbing noise and calling it rest, because distraction feels like relief until you notice it's stealing your future. Here's the hopeful part, and this matters. The same generation being overwhelmed by information is also the first generation with the tools to redesign their mind. You can learn to sit in silence without escaping. You can learn to focus again, slowly, imperfectly. You can learn to choose meaning over stimulation, not all at once, not perfectly, but deliberately. And no, that doesn't mean deleting your phone and moving to the mountains. It means small rebellions, moments where you don't scroll, moments where you create instead of consume, moments where boredom is allowed to exist. Because boredom isn't the enemy. Boredom is the doorway. It's where curiosity comes back. It's where direction starts forming. It's where the mind stops being fed and starts thinking. Gen Z doesn't need to wake up. You're already awake. What you need is to stop being pulled in 1,000 directions at the same time, to protect your attention like it actually matters. because it does. Your future is built out of what you focus on today. So no, this generation isn't doomed. It's distracted. And distraction can be unlearned, slowly, quietly, one choice at a time. Not by becoming harder, but by becoming more intentional. And that's how you resist a system designed to drain you. Not with rage, not with hustle, but with clarity. So let's talk about resistance. Not the loud kind, not rebellion, not burning everything down. Real resistance is quiet. It's choosing focus in a world designed to fracture it. It's doing one thing without checking your phone. It's staying present when your brain begs for escape. That doesn't look heroic, but it is. Because the system doesn't need you broken. It needs you distracted. Distracted people don't build. They consume. They compare. They doubt themselves. And then they blame themselves for feeling lost. But feeling lost in a confusing world is not a personal failure. It's a predictable outcome. Here's what no one told Gen Z. Your attention is the most valuable thing you own. More valuable than money, more valuable than talent, more valuable than intelligence. Because without attention, none of those things can be used. Every time you give it away without choosing, you're letting someone else decide what your life feels like. So taking control back isn't about becoming disciplined overnight. It's about making attention intentional again, deciding what deserves it and what doesn't. Not perfectly, not forever, but enough to remember what it feels like to think clearly. You don't need to fix your entire life. That idea alone is exhausting. You just need one small anchor, one habit that belongs to you. Reading, writing, training, learning. Building something slowly without posting it. Something meaningless to everyone else, but meaningful to you. That's where identity grows. Quietly. Without applause. And this is important. If life feels heavy right now, it doesn't mean you're behind. It means you're aware. Awareness always comes before change, before direction, before strength. No generation before you had to fight for their own attention. You do. And that makes you different. Gen Z isn't weak. You're the first generation trying to build a self inside a machine that profits from your confusion. Of course it feels hard. Of course you feel tired. But tired doesn't mean finished. It means it's time to choose what you let in. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Your mind is not the problem. It's the battlefield. And you don't win a battlefield by running faster. You win by standing still long enough to see clearly. The future doesn't belong to the loudest voices. It belongs to the ones who can focus when everyone else can't. And that is a skill. One you can train. One you can rebuild. One choice at a time. This generation won't be remembered for how distracted it was. It will be remembered for what it learned once it noticed the distraction. And that story hasn't been written yet.